Hey guys, Super Godzilla Final Wars here, and today I am back once again with another video. So, for today's video, we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic. This topic has been brought up within the Jurassic fandom for quite some time now. And that is, what if a scientifically accurate T-Rex was in the Jurassic franchise? Now, let's just imagine in an alternative universe where Rexy and Buck, Doe, Big, and Little Edie, along with Bull, were basically scientifically accurate T-Rexes. Happen. What would change within the Jurassic franchise with a scientifically accurate T-Rex? Well, let's begin, shall we? So, I'm not going to give you guys all a big rundown on what a scientifically accurate T-Rex is. If you want that kind of a video, then I suggest you go watch Goki Center's video. He will go more in depth on what a scientifically accurate T-Rex has that the engine T-Rex doesn't have. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go over for that because it'll take way too long. So, yeah. So, let's start with Jurassic Park for our starters. So, what will change within Jurassic Park if Rexy was a scientifically accurate T-Rex? Well, let's start with the iconic breakout scene where Rexy breaks out of her enclosure. So, what will happen? Well, let's say that Rexy would possibly still attack the car that the kids were in, and Alan Grant will still come out with the flare and tries to distract Rexy. Of course, unknowingly to him, this has no effect on a scientifically accurate T-Rex, because Rexy's, well, a scientifically accurate T-Rex now. So as a result, it will have no effect on her. If anything, she'll just stare at him like, what are you doing? Alan will be very confused because he thought that the flare thing would work on Rexy. But it's not working. Instead, she's just staring at him with a confused look on her face. And then she'll go right back to possibly destroying the car and trying to get the kids. Until, let's say, Alan was managed to throw something at Rexy to get her attention. At this point, Rexy will probably just chase Alan around, trying to get him to back off. And instead of, well, Ian getting injured, I'm pretty sure it will be Alan who will be the one to get injured. So, Alan Grant will be the one to get injured, and Ian Malcolm will not get injured. Of course, Ian will go try to help out the kids, and, well, of course, when Rexy turns her attention on them, after eating the lawyer, and after, well, let's say she doesn't find Alan Grant, let's say she lost him somehow. So, yeah, obviously, Ian and Lex will try to stay still, but of course, since this is a scientifically accurate T-Rex, Rexy would just eat them. So meaning Lex and Ian Malcolm will die in this alternative universe. And as for Tim, I don't know let's just say that he was managed to escape while Rexy was busy eating his sister and Ian Malcolm. So, yeah. Now, what about the car chase scene? What about that? Well, obviously with Rex being a slower T-Rex in this alternative universe, there's no way that she can charge in. But since she is a scientifically accurate T-Rex, this would mean that Alan Grant, since he's the one injured, he wouldn't be able to tell if the T-Rex was coming. In fact, he will probably put it all together and realize that this T-Rex is very good on being stealthy. Even if it's not actually trying to be stealthy, it's really good at its job. And that's how they weren't able to detect the T-Rex until it broke out of its cage. They wouldn't have had enough time to react because in the original movie, they were able to know that the T-Rex was coming because of the booming foot sounds. They knew that T-Rex was coming because of its own footsteps. But in this alternative universe, with Rexy being a scientifically accurate T-Rex, they didn't even know she was coming until, rather, one, they saw her eating the goat, or two, well, she broke out of her cage without any warning. So, instead of Ellie and that one character, I forgot his name, but with them wanting to go out for a search party for Tim, obviously Alan Grant would tell them that this T-Rex, it doesn't make any booming foot sounds. It's very quiet, and as a result, they wouldn't even know what hit them. And so, let's say that in this alternative universe, the car chase scene doesn't happen. But we can say that through the entire time, Rexy was watching them. She was keeping an eye on them. Now, what about Tim? Will he survive out there on his own, or will he get killed by Rexy eventually? Well, let's just say that he wasn't lucky enough and he got killed by Rexy, and as a result, yeah, John Hammond's grandchildren die in this alternative universe. Now, what about the fight scene between Rexy and the Raptors? Obviously, Rexy would get the upper hand on both Raptors. She wouldn't get her iconic scars, because with her being a scientifically accurate Rex, she's a lot more agile and a lot more faster. Well, not faster, but she's a lot more agile. So as a result, she'll have a much more fast reflex than her engine counterpart did. Because her engine counterpart didn't even notice the other raptor until that raptor was already on her. So, yeah, basically the big one will die a lot more quicker than the original movie. So, yeah. Now, what about Jurassic Park: The Lost World? How will this change the events of that movie? Well, with Buck, Doe, and Junior being all scientifically accurate Rexes, this would change a lot. For starters, since Ian Malcolm is dead, he's not going to be like the main character in this alternative universe, so yeah, so let's say that the vast majority of the events in that movie will play out very similar, except the human characters are a bit more cautious about going after the T-Rex because the T-Rex can be on them before they even know it. And the worst part is, there's no signs of when it's coming. So, yeah. So, when Buck and Doe do arrive, and of course they will get their baby back just like in the original, and Um, so, they'll get their baby back, like I said before. They'll get their baby back just like in the original movie. And, yeah. And they'll probably still attack the big car thing. I forgot what that was. And, let's say that one character was trying to save, Sarah and, Nick. He will still get killed. So, nothing too new. The only difference is he wouldn't be able to hear the Rexes coming. By the time he did it, they are literally tearing his car apart. So, yeah. Now, what about the tent scene where Buck arrived and Sarah was able to hear Buck coming? Well, in this alternative universe, she wouldn't be able to hear him coming. In fact, by the time she can hear him, he's already sticking his head through the tent. And this will catch her off guard. So, let's just say that Sarah, in this alternative universe, also didn't make it. Well, she didn't make it. So, what does this mean for the rest of the events of the movie? Who will lead Buck out of the city and bring him and Junior back to where they belong? Let's say that Nick Van Owen decides to take it upon himself to lead Buck back towards the ship. So, we can kind of say the rampage scene will probably still happen, but with a much more quieter T-Rex. So, yeah. Besides that, I'm pretty sure the rest of the events of that movie will probably remain the same, but with a scientifically accurate Rex. Now for the big event, the one the one that you all have been waiting for, Jurassic Park 3. What if Bull Rex was a scientifically accurate Rex in this movie? Well, let's begin. So let's say that the rest of the events of that movie the rest of the opening would remain the same. The Spinosaurus chasing until they get to Bull, and of course, yeah. But what's the big difference in this alternate universe with so let's say the Alan Grant would still will still go with the Kirby's to go to Isla Sorna. So Alan Grant would probably still be alive in this alternative universe. I think. Yeah, I think so.